furious, and then unexpectedly makes you believe in justice all over again. Imagine a privileged 23-year-old confidently stepping into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom after personally ruining a single mother's Christmas. But everything flips when she starts texting her billionaire father right in the middle of the victim's testimony. And Judge Caprio actually reads those texts out loud. What follows turns into the most shared courtroom clip of the entire year. I'm warning you now. This story will emotionally destroy you, which is exactly why it exploded with more than 8 million views in just 72 hours, helped change drunk driving laws in 3 different states, and showed millions what real accountability truly looks like. Before we get into the full story, I noticed fewer than 4% of viewers are actually subscribed. So please hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to see proves that justice and compassion can exist together. Also, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Drop your city name, because this story deserves to reach every corner of the world. The nightmare begins at 11:27 p.m. on a snowy Christmas Eve in Providence, where Elena Rodriguez, an exhausted 34-year-old single mother, is driving home after her nursing shift with her 3 children, 10-year-old Maya, 8-year-old Leo, and 6-year-old Chloe sitting in the back seat. Packed in the trunk are wrapped Christmas gifts totaling $2,400, presents Elena saved for over 11 months to afford, sacrificing every extra shift and skipping every lunch just so her children could wake up to one perfect Christmas morning. Closing in fast behind Elena's Honda is a black Mercedes G-Wagon racing at 73 miles per hour in a 30 zone, driven by Vanessa Sterling, the 23-year-old daughter of billionaire tech mogul Arthur Sterling. Vanessa's blood alcohol level is 0.18, more than twice the legal limit. She's also angrily texting her boyfriend after fighting with her father, which means she never sees the red light. She never sees Elena's stopped Honda, and she completely misses the 3 children sitting in the back seat. The devastating collision happens at 11:29 p.m., launching Elena's Honda violently into the intersection and forcing the trunk to burst open, sending wrapped presents flying across Hope Street like tragic confetti, boxes tumbling through the snow as wrapping paper rips apart. Inside the crushed car, little Chloe is screaming. Leo is crying while gripping his injured arm. And Maya has blood streaming from a cut above her eyebrow. Elena tastes blood herself, but her only thought is for her children. All around them, ruined Christmas presents are scattered across the street. A baby doll with a cracked face, a gaming console with a shattered screen, and books soaked in icy slush, representing everything Elena worked for, instantly destroyed. Providence police officer David Vance arrives 4 minutes later, capturing everything on his body camera as he finds Elena standing in the street holding 6-year-old Chloe, while Maya and Leo sit on the curb, shaking under neighbors' blankets, surrounded by broken presents. When Officer Vance approaches Vanessa, who is still seated comfortably inside her Mercedes, she asks, "Do you know who my father is?" Reeking of alcohol with glassy eyes, and when instructed to step out of the vehicle, she argues, "I'm calling my father." "You're making a huge mistake." The body camera footage shows Officer Vance's patience wearing thin as he asks her to perform field sobriety tests, which she fails completely. And when he requests a breathalyzer, Vanessa's response is caught clearly on audio, "This is ridiculous. That woman pulled out in front of me. Her kids aren't even hurt. It's just stuff. We'll just buy them new stuff." Officer Vance looks at the destroyed presents, then at Elena holding her sobbing child, quietly repeating with disgust, "Just stuff." Vanessa Sterling is arrested at 11:53 p.m., but is released just 4 hours later after her father's attorney arrives with $50,000 in cash bail. Meanwhile, Elena and her children spend Christmas Eve in the emergency room, where Maya receives stitches, Leo is treated for a sprained wrist, and Chloe is left physically unharmed but deeply traumatized. They finally return home at 4:30 a.m. on Christmas morning to find no presents at all or realizing Christmas is effectively ruined. If you're already feeling the heavy weight of this story, please hit that like button, because your engagement helps stories like this reach people who need to see that justice still exists. Fast forward exactly 21 days later, and this heartbreaking case finally appears in Judge Frank Caprio's famous courtroom on a busy Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., where the room is completely packed with anticipation. At 10:15 sharp, Vanessa Sterling strolls in wearing a pristine Burberry coat that likely costs more than Elena's entire monthly rent, clutching a designer handbag, hair and makeup flawless, looking more like she's headed to an upscale brunch than facing serious criminal charges. In stark contrast, Elena is already seated, still dressed in her nursing scrubs, visibly exhausted from working non-stop double shifts just to replace what was so carelessly destroyed. When Judge Caprio enters, everyone stands. After taking his seat and adjusting his glasses, he looks firmly at the defendant and says, "Miss Sterling, you are charged with driving under the influence, reckless driving, and 3 counts of child endangerment stemming from the events of Christmas Eve. How do you plead?" Her high-priced attorney immediately rises to declare, "Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty. We believe this was simply an unfortunate accident, and Miss Sterling's blood alcohol level was actually within acceptable limits." Judge Caprio's eyebrows lift in disbelief as he responds, "Counselor, the breathalyzer recorded .18, which is more than twice the legal limit." The lawyer dismissively replies, "We'll be filing motions to suppress," prompting Judge Caprio to nod slowly before saying, "Before we discuss motions, I would like to hear from the victim. Ms. Rodriguez, please approach." Elena stands, her hands trembling uncontrollably, and after being sworn in, she takes a deep breath to describe the nightmare. "Your Honor, I was stopped at a red light after finishing a grueling 14-hour shift, and my 3 children were in the back seat. It was 11:30 at night, and I was just thinking about how excited they'd be for Christmas morning." She pauses to steady herself before continuing, "Then there was this horrible, deafening sound, and we were thrown forward violently. My children were screaming in terror, and for a moment, I truly thought we were going to die. When the judge asks what happened next, she replies, 'I checked my children first.' Chloe was hysterical. Leo was holding his injured arm, and Maya had blood running down her face. And then I saw all the presents scattered across the street." Her voice softens as the pain sinks in. "I had been saving for 11 months, scraping together $2,400 from every extra shift, buying things I knew would make them happy, and they were just everywhere, completely destroyed." Judge Caprio removes his glasses and asks, "What did the defendant say to you?" Elena reveals the crushing words. She said, "It's just stuff. We'll just buy you new stuff." The courtroom murmurs uneasily as Judge Caprio's jaw tightens. He notices Vanessa scrolling on her phone beneath the table and asks, "Miss Sterling, are you texting right now?" She looks up, startled, and says, "I'm sorry, Your Honor. I was just checking something during the victim's testimony." The judge snaps, "Put the phone away now." She drops it into her handbag with an exaggerated sigh that echoes through the room. Judge Caprio turns back to Elena and asks about the impact on her children, and she begins to cry. "Your Honor, Chloe was sick with nightmares for 2 weeks and refused to get into a car without crying. Leo sprained his wrist and missed baseball practice, and Maya needed stitches and now has a scar she'll carry forever." She looks directly at Vanessa and adds, "But it's not the physical injuries that hurt the most. We didn't have Christmas. I told them presents didn't matter, but they're children and don't understand that Santa didn't happen because the one day that was supposed to feel magical was stolen by someone who couldn't stop drinking and texting." Guys, what happens next is completely explosive. So if you're not subscribed, hit that button right now, because Judge Caprio was about to do something truly unprecedented. "I work 2 jobs, Your Honor," Elena continues through her tears. "I'm all they have. I work endlessly to give them one special day, and she took that from us. She said it was just stuff, but it was 11 months of sacrifice, choosing work overtime with my children, just so I could give them one perfect morning." This prompts the judge to ask, "Miss Rodriguez, did Miss Sterling ever reach out after the accident to apologize or check on your children?" Elena slowly shakes her head before dropping a bombshell. "No, Your Honor. The only communication was from her attorney 3 days ago, offering me $500 not to testify today." The courtroom instantly erupts into absolute chaos at the shocking revelation, forcing Judge Caprio to slam his gavel down with thunderous force, shouting, "Order," to regain control. He then locks a piercing stare on Vanessa's attorney and demands, "Is that true? Did you actually offer $500 to keep her from testifying?" The attorney stands, suddenly far less confident than before, stammering, "Your Honor, we merely made an offer to resolve the matter privately." But Judge Caprio isn't having it, snapping back, "That is witness tampering, counselor, and you are dangerously close to being held in contempt of court." In a move that stuns the entire room, Judge Caprio stands and steps around his bench, completely removing the formal distance between himself and the defendant. He looks her directly in the eye and says, "Miss Sterling, stand up, please." She does so slowly, appearing more irritated by the request than remorseful for her actions. "Miss Sterling, I've sat on this bench for over 30 years, he begins gravely. I've seen thousands of DUI cases. I've seen people who make genuine mistakes and feel real regret for what they've done." He pauses before delivering the blow. "You are not one of those people." When she tries to interrupt with, "Your Honor, he cuts her off immediately, his voice rising. "I'm not finished. You drove drunk on Christmas Eve at 73 miles per hour while texting. You destroyed Christmas for a family that saved all year. And your only response was, 'It's just stuff.' So tell me," he continues, "do you even understand what you took from those children? Not just presents, but their sense of safety, their trust, and their belief that the world is fair." Just as he finishes, Vanessa opens her mouth to argue, but her phone buzzes loudly inside her handbag, a sound everyone hears. The judge asks incredulously, "Miss Sterling, is that your phone?" I explicitly told you to silence it. She replies dismissively, it's just a text. I'll ignore it. Judge Caprio shakes his head. The same way you ignored the red light, the speed limit, and the consequences. Then, in a moment of pure audacity, Vanessa reaches into her bag, glances at the screen, and actually starts typing right in front of him. Miss Sterling, he asks, stunned, are you texting right now in my courtroom? She looks up like a child caught in class and says, I'm just telling my dad what's happening. The judge snaps, your father? Give me that phone right now. When she hesitates with a confused, what, he commands, hand me that phone immediately. Vanessa reluctantly hands over her iPhone. As Judge Caprio looks at the screen, his expression shifts from anger to pure disbelief before he begins reading the messages aloud. For the record, Dad, this judge is being so unreasonable. This woman is literally crying about Christmas presents like we can't just buy her new stuff. Can you call someone? I want this over with. I have lunch plans at 12:30. The courtroom explodes with outrage, but Judge Caprio raises his hand for silence and scrolls up to read more. These messages are from this morning. Ugh, I have to go to court today for that stupid Christmas thing. So annoying. And this one at 9:53, I'm not wearing the conservative outfit you suggested. This isn't a big deal. He continues scrolling, his face hardening. This was sent at 10:21, while Ms. Rodriguez was crying on the stand. Dad, seriously, call Judge Caprio's office. This is ridiculous. I said we'd pay for the stuff. What more does she want? Judge Caprio's voice rises with righteous anger. What more does she want? She wants her children to feel safe. She wants Christmas back. She wants 1 ounce of genuine remorse. He looks at the phone one last time. And this was sent 4 minutes ago. Dad, get me out of this. She's being so dramatic. It's not like her kids died. A dead silence falls over the courtroom until Elena stands, her entire body shaking with rage and grief, screaming, it's not like my kids died? You could have killed them. 73 miles per hour, drunk and texting. My 6-year-old has nightmares, and you're texting your daddy saying I'm dramatic because they didn't die? Judge Caprio gently guides Elena back to her seat before turning to the defendant and declaring, Miss Sterling, I'm calling your father right now on speakerphone. When her attorney protests, Your Honor, that's not, the judge cuts him off. Bailiff, get me Arthur Sterling's office number. The phone rings through the courtroom speakers before a professional voice answers, Arthur Sterling's office. The judge replies, this is Judge Frank Caprio from Providence Municipal Court. I need Mr. Sterling immediately regarding his daughter's case. After a brief hold, a confident male voice comes on the line. Judge Caprio, this is Arthur Sterling. Mr. Sterling, the judge says, I am in the middle of your daughter Vanessa's hearing, and I'm placing you on speakerphone in a full courtroom. The father replies, understood. Your daughter is facing DUI charges from Christmas Eve, where she crashed into a vehicle carrying 3 children. Are you aware? I am, Judge, he responds, and whatever compensation is required, I'll provide immediately. But the judge stops him cold. Mr. Sterling, this is not about money. Your daughter has been texting you throughout this hearing, including during the victim's testimony, calling this stupid, saying the victim is dramatic, asking you to call my office, and stating it's not like her kids died. There is a long, heavy silence on the line before the father's voice returns, sounding completely different. She's been doing what? Texting you throughout the hearing? Yes, the judge confirms. The silence stretches painfully long before the father finally commands, put her on. Vanessa's face drains of all color, turning ghost white as she stammers, Dad, please, I can explain. But the judge orders firmly, put her on the phone. She picks it up with visibly shaking hands and whispers, Dad, he's making it sound way worse than it is. Her father cuts her off instantly, his voice sharp. I read your texts, Vanessa. Every single one. Jennifer forwarded them to me. You actually called a mother of 3 children you nearly killed dramatic. Is that true? She desperately tries to deflect. Dad, I didn't nearly kill anyone. It was just an accident. But he snaps back, just an accident? You were drunk, driving 73 miles per hour in a 30 zone, texting on Christmas Eve, and you still don't understand. Yet she keeps digging herself deeper, whining, she's exaggerating everything. The presents weren't even that expensive. Judge Caprio cuts in immediately, saying, Mr. Sterling, I'm putting you back on speaker because I believe everyone here needs to hear what a father sounds like when he chooses accountability. Arthur Sterling's voice fills the silent courtroom, heavy and undeniable, as he admits, I have failed as a father. The silence is crushing as he continues. I gave Vanessa everything. The best schools. Money. Unlimited freedom. But I failed to give her what she actually needed. I didn't teach her that actions have consequences, that other people's pain matters, and that you cannot buy your way out of responsibility. When Vanessa tries to interrupt, Dad, what are you? He shuts her down immediately. I'm not finished, Vanessa. Judge Caprio, whatever sentence you believe is appropriate, I support it fully. No lawyer games. No appeals. Because my daughter needs to finally learn consequences. When the judge mentions the state's recommendation, Arthur interrupts again. I don't care what they're recommending, Judge, because with all due respect, they are being far too lenient. My daughter destroyed Christmas for 3 children she could have killed, and she's been sitting there complaining about lunch plans. There must be real, harsh consequences. He then lays out his demands. First, whatever fines you impose, I will double them and donate that amount to charity. Second, whatever jail time Vanessa receives, she serves every single day with no bail and no early release. Third, I want her working a minimum wage job for 1 full year in retail or the service industry, serving the very people she's dismissed. Fourth, I am cutting off her credit cards, her allowance, and all family money so she lives only on what she earns, pays her own rent, and understands what it means to save for 11 months for Christmas. And fifth, I am selling her Mercedes immediately so she can take the bus or save for her own car. Finally, he asks to address Ms. Rodriguez directly. Miss Rodriguez, I am ashamed. Ashamed my daughter did this. Ashamed she showed no remorse. And ashamed I raised someone so callous. If you'll allow it, I would like to meet you personally to replace everything that was destroyed. Not to buy forgiveness, but because it's the right thing to do. And I want to establish full education funds for each of your children so your family never has to work double shifts just to afford Christmas ever again. The courtroom is silent except for quiet sobbing as the judge says, Mr. Sterling, that is incredibly generous. But Arthur corrects him. It's not generous, Judge. It's necessary. I've enabled her for years, thinking I was helping, when I was actually destroying her. When asked if he can come to Providence, he replies, I'll be there in 20 minutes. I'm leaving right now. The line goes dead, leaving Vanessa staring in absolute panic, screaming, You can't do this. This is my life. Judge Caprio responds quietly but firmly, Miss Sterling, this is your life, the life you created, and this is the consequence of your choices. Exactly 45 minutes later, the courtroom doors swing open as Arthur Sterling enters with a commanding presence. He walks directly to Elena without hesitation and says, Miss Rodriguez, I am deeply and truly sorry for what my daughter did to your family. Then he turns and slowly approaches Vanessa. He doesn't hug her or show warmth. Instead, he says sternly, We'll talk later. Right now, you need to listen to Judge Caprio and accept whatever he decides. Do you understand? Vanessa nods miserably. Completely defeated, Judge Caprio returns to his bench and commands, Miss Vanessa Sterling, stand. As she rises, he lists her offenses. The evidence against you is overwhelming. A blood alcohol level of 0.18. Driving 73 in a 30 zone. Texting while driving. You crashed into a vehicle carrying 3 children on Christmas Eve, destroyed over $2,000 in presents, showed no remorse, attempted to bribe the victim, and texted during this hearing, calling her dramatic and stating, It's not like her kids died. He pauses for a long moment before continuing. However, I have witnessed something remarkable today. A father choosing accountability over protection. And so here is your sentence. 90 days in Providence County Jail, served day for day with no early release. A $5,000 fine for reckless driving, $15,000 for 3 counts of child endangerment. Your license is suspended for 2 years. 200 hours of community service, specifically with drunk driving victims. Alcohol counseling twice a week for 1 year. A written apology to each child. And mandatory minimum wage employment for 1 full year after your release. Additionally, you will pay restitution of $2,400 for the presents, plus $15,000 for pain and suffering, totaling $42,400, which Mr. Sterling has agreed to match, donating an additional $42,000 to a charity chosen by Ms. Rodriguez. Vanessa looks as though she might collapse. As the judge continues, Ms. Sterling, you believed your father's money would save you. You were wrong. Your father showed tremendous courage today by choosing to be a good parent instead of a protective one. And that is real love. Not luxury cars or credit cards, but the kind that says you are better than this behavior. 90 days gives you time to reflect. Minimum wage for a year teaches you the value of work. 2 years without a license reminds you that driving is a privilege. And community service shows you real consequences. Judge Caprio stands and concludes, you can come out of this bitter or better. The choice is yours. But the consequence is real, and it begins right now. Bailiff, take Miss Sterling into custody. As Vanessa is led away in handcuffs, sobbing, she looks back at her father one last time. Arthur Sterling does not look away or comfort her. He simply nods once. Fast forward 6 months. Vanessa has completed her 90 days behind bars and is now working humbly at Target, earning $14 an hour. She lives in a small studio apartment, rides the bus everywhere, and attends counseling faithfully, showing the entitlement is gone. She writes sincere letters to Maya, Leo, and Chloe, and Maya writes back, I forgive you. Just please never drink and drive again. 1 year later, Arthur Sterling meets Vanessa at a quiet coffee shop and tells her, I'm proud of you. For the first time in your life, I truly mean that. Vanessa cries and admits, it was the hardest year of my life. Arthur replies, I know. But look at you now. You earn what you have, value it, and think about others. That's the daughter I always hoped for. Arthur kept every promise. $50,000 education funds for each child. $42,000 donated to Safe Streets. $17,000 given directly to Elena. He also launched the Second Chance Foundation for drunk driving victims. Vanessa now volunteers, speaking at high schools about her experience. Judge Caprio later said this was his most memorable case, not because of the crime, but because of what followed. A father chose accountability. A daughter learned consequences. A victim found justice. And that is exactly how the system should change lives. Elena's children are thriving. Maya is 13 and barely notices her scar. Leo made the all-star baseball team. Chloe no longer fears cars. Every Christmas Eve, Elena takes them to volunteer at a homeless shelter, sharing the story of a Christmas destroyed and restored through accountability. Vanessa Sterling walked into court believing money would save her. Instead, her father's refusal to shield her from consequences saved her. That is justice, that is transformation.